You're concerned about education being unobtainable to the poor. You're talking about the industrialization of education. What do you mean by that?
When we had independence, poverty is everywhere. Illiteracy is everywhere. This country was nothing at that time. We have only less than 50 university students when we had independence. And then the government started to educate its populations. The young generations of Indonesia were educated in the 50s. And by the 80s, Indonesia started to have the first middle class of Indonesia. It took 30 years to produce a middle class of Indonesia. And now, our population is around 240 million people. And around 60 million people were enjoying the life of middle class. That is about a quarter. And that process took place for 30 years. Now, we need to take care of the other 180 million people who are not yet moving up the ladder. So education in a country like Indonesia is not only to make yourself informed, open your view, understand about the world, but it's also an escalator to move up from the lower class to the middle class. Its education is the key. Therefore, affordability is very important. Because if education is affordable, then you will be able to step into the escalator and move upward.
Is there then a link between education and extremism?
People who are not educated has been there for centuries. People who have radical view has been there for centuries. But that doesn't translate into violence. So having an extremist view, being uneducated, being poor, does not automatically make you a possible or a potential attacker of, a terrorist, for instance. It is very important to see the change in the society that took place in the past several decades. If you pay attention closely, I think we will be seeing, like, in many cities in which 50 years ago were vibrant economy, the society were participating in the market, able to benefit from the transactions in the economy. Now they are marginalized. So it is, and what used to be tolerant communities, after the absence of vibrant markets, they started to become less tolerant community. The way I look at it, it is not only education, but presence of market is very important. For centuries, Muslims in Indonesia is known of being a very tolerant Muslims, and still until today are very tolerant Muslims. And one of the reasons for that is because these are trading societies. They trade, they meet people, they just very open-minded. And this is a people of archipelago who has that nature of exchange of idea. But the issue is not so much about the radical itself, but about being marginalized in the process, in participating in the economy. And I think this is an important issue. So education, yes, it's important, opening up perspective and views, but not only that, I think expansions of market economies, ensuring that everyone is able to participate in the market, it will help to flourish that. And also that's good for democracy.
Can democracy, Islam, and modernity coexist harmoniously and peacefully?
Yes, I think so. People understand that it is not about whether the state is Islamic or secular. It is about whether people of religion are able to practice religious freely, and that the state is not hostile toward religion. And that is, I think, in the mind of Indonesians. So the majority is having that view. Therefore, in the context of Indonesia, Islam and democracy is walking hand in hand.
Indonesia is a democratic and economic success story, but do you think it is still overlooked, though?
We democratize, decentralize from one of the most centralized government into one of the most decentralized today. And the economy was hit badly by the crisis. So three things happening: recovering, decentralization, and democratizations. But now, 10 years after the reform started, Indonesia started to look at the international world and try to put itself somewhere in the map. Indonesia is a peaceful, religious democracy and friendly to the world.
We have seen peaceful elections and President Yudhoyono re-elected. What are the key challenges in the second term?
Short term is infrastructure, because that would guarantee the expansions of the economy. Number two is decentralizations of the market, ensuring there are quite a few engines of growth across the country. Three is education, ensuring that the young Indonesians, many of them, is educated properly, quality education, so that they can participate in the market. When Indonesians often see ourselves as very rich nations because of the mineral, oil, gas that is present here in our lands. But I think that mindset has to change. We must see people as our number one asset, not the natural resources. Generally, I think in the second term, I think President Yudhoyono will have a much stronger say in this process.